There is no more Scott D'Amore in TNA, but if the roster have their way, then he might just be allowed to come back. Welcome to Fog Wrestling, guys, and the TNA roster are rebelling. They are politely asking for Scott D'Amore to be brought back as the position of TNA Vice President. So obviously last week, after Scott D'Amore's departure from the company was announced, Mike Johnson of PW Insider came out and he said the belief was that D'Amore and Len Asper, head of Anthem, were not on the same page when it came to the future direction of TNA. That's pretty much why he was released. Now, there's been some rumours that Scott D'Amore tried to buy it and Anthem weren't happy and that they don't want to spend the kind of money that D'Amore does. They don't want TNA to grow. They're just happy doing what they're currently doing, creating, television product and putting it out every week and not particularly doing well. They just want to survive, basically. Whereas Scott D'Amore seemed to want to push on. He wanted to try and bring in the biggest names that he could and, make TNA, for a lack of a better word, great again. So that seems to be the difference between those two. And then Fightful.com today obtained a letter that was sent to Anthem on behalf of TNA talent. So this letter is supposedly from everybody in TNA. Now, I don't think I'm going to read it all, but we'll probably read the first paragraph and the second last paragraph, or the first, the last, and the penultimate paragraph, because it's a very, very long statement, and I don't think we need to read everything, because they basically beat around the bush. They should have just come out and says, look, imagine if the TNA, now I know it's a company and you can't really do this, but they're claiming to be a family. Imagine if everybody in TNA just outright refused to work. They would have to bring Scott D'Amore back. If everybody just downed tools and refused to do any wrestling, refused to cameramen or whatnot, like security, commentators, if everybody currently employed by TNA just refused to do any work, then they would have had to have brought back Scott D'Amore, because that would have been obviously show-stopping. The show can't go on if everybody downs tools, but they haven't done that. Anyway, this is the letter sent to Len from Anthem on behalf of the TNA talent, and it says, quote, TNA/Impact is not just our employer and the company for which we work. It is a family that each of our own has grown to love and cherish and trust with our bodies and our careers. A family for which we feel deeply and that desire above all else to protect. We are deeply saddened by the decision to remove Scott D'Amore from the TNA Impact family. Scott is a brilliant wrestling mind that has guided this company and is positioned to take the next step upward in our industry. Scott is also so much more than this. He is a trusted friend, confidant, teacher, advisor, brother, and mentor to so many within the TNA Impact family. Scott has been the heart of TNA Impact for family for over 2 decades. Len and Anthem have been instrumental in supporting and building this company back from the ground up. The contributions of Len and Anthem have never gone unnoticed by anybody in the company, and we want to make sure Len knows this. TNA, simply put, would not have survived without Len and Anthem. Not just financially, but with the undying faith in Scott and us to revive the company that was on the brink of death. Len and Anthem are the foundation that TNA has been able to build upon. We would not have made it back to this point without both of you. The fans know this, and the TNA family know this. We come to you to voice our concern for TNA, for Impact, our family, and its future and direction. We, like you, wish to safeguard what we have all worked, sweat, and bled for to build. We feel strongly that a wrestling person needs to be intimately involved at a high level to ensure that the amazing company we all built and protect and have provided for our fans continues to grow and flourish. It is our opinion that the best possible person for that role was, is, and will be Scott. We recognise we do not necessarily know all the facts or details around the decision to remove Scott. In life, there is always rumours, the opinions, and somewhere in between the truth. We rarely get to know which is which. It remains our hope and desire that everyone can set aside the past few days and any hurt feelings or any unkind words that may have been exchanged and meet to discuss a path forward that preserves the TNA Impact family we all hold so dearly. We remain steadfast and hopeful that this letter can be a first step to opening and keeping open productive lines of communication to ensure that TNA Impact family continues to be a wonderful, unique place to work for years to come. We ask and implore you both to come together and create a resolution that will reunite this family once again. We look forward to hearing from you and continuing this dialogue. End of quote. So that was basically the majority. I cut out the middle part because there wasn't really anything in it. What they essentially did was they put over how much Scott means to them. Then they kissed the ass of Len and Anthem, saying how much they've done for TNA. They've kept TNA alive. And then they finished it by saying, basically, without actually outright saying it, they said that they wanted Scott D'Amore to come back and that they hope Anthem reconsider. Like, first of all, it's not a family, okay? It's a company. And at the end of the day, let's say Anthem did want to get rid of Scott D'Amore because they didn't feel like he was performing correctly, or they didn't think he was taking the company in the right direction. It's kind of embarrassing that the whole roster feels the need to, you know, go to bat for this guy. I mean, like I said, it's a professional wrestling company. So is every time Scott D'Amore gets released, is every time a wrestler gets released, is everyone else going to cry about it? Is everybody else going to go to Anthem and complain that this person needs to come back because they're part of the family? It's like when AEW or WWE release somebody, you don't get the entire roster, you know, crying to the upper management saying, no, that person was our family, you need to bring them back. That doesn't happen. I think this is kind of embarrassing here. Now, I will defend Scott D'Amore because even though I'm not a massive fan of the guy, and I mean, he sleeps with Giselle Shaw, so that's a little bit weird. But anyway, that aside, I mean, the guy clearly does love TNA. He's very passionate about TNA, and whether I enjoy it or not, or think it's going to succeed, he did play a huge part in the rebirth of TNA, and he stuck by the company through thick and thin. So there's no doubt about it. Scott D'Amore is a TNA guy, and I thought the timing was strange. I personally don't think the guy's doing a good job. I personally don't think TNA can grow and go past beyond what it is right now with Scott D'Amore in charge. But he was doing a good job. He was doing what Anthem wanted, and then all of a sudden, he's been released. So I thought it was a little bit unfair, the firing, the fact that they just booted him out the door, and it looks like everyone else in TNA thinks that too. But like I said, it's professional wrestling. Could you imagine every time somebody got released, the rest of the locker room just cried and complained to bring that person back? I mean, that would be insane. That doesn't happen in wrestling, but it's happened here for some reason. And, like, look at the current McMahon thing. You could, where's the WWE? Where's the WWE roster doing this for McMahon? You know, why is nobody coming out and saying, no, bring McMahon back, we're part of a family? Is it because everyone in WWE is professional and they're not going to bitch? Or is it because maybe the people in WWE don't have the same sort of respect for McMahon as the TNA roster have for Scott D'Amore? Could it be a bit of both? I mean, who knows? I don't think Anthem are going to listen to this. For me, it was just, all they did here was kiss Anthem's ass, and they suggested that they would like Scott D'Amore to come back because he's a great person, and they think that he's good for TNA. But for me, if you're going to complain, if you're going to address Anthem and their decision to fire Scott D'Amore, I think you need to be more to the point. I think you need to ask them to bring him back and just say outright how unhappy you are with the decision, and, you know, maybe allude to the fact this company will go backwards. You know, this company will decline without Scott D'Amore, but they didn't do that. You know, they kind of just kissed Anthem's ass. And another thing that bothers me is TNA's been garbage since the Anthem days. TNA's not been good since Dixie Carter left. That's a fact, and it's not necessarily because of Dixie Carter, but the era when Dixie Carter there was just better. Now, was it because she was willing to pump money in? Was it because they had stars? I mean, you can argue it's both. You can argue they had stars because she was putting money into the company. I mean, since Anthem came out, I mean, people can say what they want. People say the glory days of TNA. Some think the glory days of TNA came in the last decade. Some think the glory days of TNA were like 2002 to like 2004 or whatnot. But for me, the glory days of TNA are undoubtedly around the time Angle came into around probably 2012 when all the big stars left. It was like after 2012, pretty much your Hogans, your Flairs, your Angles, your Nashes, your Steiners, all those guys were pretty much gone. And you were left with the bare bones. So for me, I would definitely say the glory years of TNA were probably like 2006, 2005 to 2012, 2013. I'd say after that. Has there been some good moments? Of course. I mean, the Broken Matt Hardy stuff was fun. It was entertaining. But other than that, a lot of the other stuff in the roster fucking sucked. Let's be honest. Let's keep it real here. Anyway, guys, that's it. Will Scott D'Amore come back? I mean, who knows? Maybe Anthem will reconsider. I mean, if they've got the entire locker room wanting him back, then that could make a big difference, and possibly Scott D'Amore could be reinstated. But I think they need to be a little bit stronger, especially with their words. I mean, I think they've just kind of half-assed it here. It's almost like they're asking for Scott D'Amore to come back, but they probably should have demanded it. But who knows? Maybe this will work. We'll find out, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below. Catch you in the next one. Peace.